So I know in the last video I just made, I talked really extensively about Retcon already, but I wanted to make a quick follow-up video because there were a couple points I missed, and also me and a couple of the other closed alpha playtesters had a couple discussions about Retcon, and it made me realize that there's a couple of things I could mention that might help to actually fix this character. So that's this video. We're doing a quick little follow-up. Go watch the original if you haven't already. It better explains a lot of this. It's going to give context to what I'm about to say, is what I'm trying to say here. And it is linked in the description. So, last time I mentioned that Retcon was problematic from a design standpoint, and I still hold that to be true. Her biggest problem right now is that she is way too over-centralized on Rewind. Rewind does way too much for this class, and it is the perpetuator of the unhealthy design that I think Retcon currently has, in a sense. Because I really thought about this for a while, but the reason why I think Slicer is fine compared to someone like Retcon, even though he is also very centralized on his main ability, is because Slicer has, he has the big sword, right? The big sword main ability is kind of his whole class identity. But he also has Blitz, and he also has Shield Belt, and both of those skills kind of complement his main ability, and they round out his kit. He has a pretty well-rounded kit. Blitz is a fantastic ability to go alongside the Slice. They're very useful in tandem. It makes them, it gives him more depth other than just being the class with the get off me button, right? Because that's kind of what Slicer is. His main sword ability is. It's the get off me button. But he has the shield belt, which, isn't that strong, but it has some uses. It's not totally useless, unlike a certain contingency plan, which we're going to talk about later. And it does a good job of rounding out his more defensive abilities, since his other two abilities are mostly offensive. Blitz you can use to kind of dash away from enemies, but it's not that great. It's really good for repositioning though, and it's just a good mobility tool. All in all, the reason why I think Slicer is very well and healthy is because I feel like his kit is very well balanced. I can't say the same thing about Retcon. Retcon's entire kit relies entirely upon her one singular ability, and that's just not very interesting, from a game design standpoint, I don't think. And it also it contributes to the problems I'm going to talk about here, with the cooldown reduction, which I heavily emphasized in the last video, and I'm going to talk about it again here briefly, because yeah, the cooldown reduction is definitely one of the biggest problems that Retcon has. When you add even just a little bit of cooldown reduction, you are completely removing the risk-reward element of not having your ability ready and having to fend for yourself for a while. And it also enables you to play in ways that are stupid and not very I'm gonna say not very smart, but that doesn't really make sense. But you can literally just pop rewind, and you basically, unless you aren't actively paying attention to your health and you take too much damage, which is very possible to do on depth 4 specifically, you can still you basically have this massive safety net. And the problem is that that's fine in moderation to have that safety net, but when you have that safety net over and over and over again because of the cooldown reduction, you take Accelerate or the other cooldown reducing upgrades or anything, suddenly the class design completely breaks, because now you just have infinite safety nets and no challenge will ever you won't struggle anymore unless you literally just aren't paying attention. And that's not good design for a reclaimer to have in this game, in my opinion. So we'll talk about fixes in a second. Something I actually completely forgot to mention in the last video was that grenade spam is kind of awful. No, I did kind of talk about it a little bit, but I didn't talk about it as much as I think I should have. I briefly mentioned the cluster bomb situation where you basically grab a bunch of clusters and you pop rewind, right? And then because all ammo is refunded, you throw down all your clusters, and then it, blows up everything, including your teammates. And it having access to that kind of crazy firepower, like, I would not be surprised if lead bursters got removed purely because they're trying to balance around retcon right now. And I think lead bursters got removed because of friendly fire reasons, so whatever. But obviously, retcon is going to make those kinds of situations even more extreme. And in general, I just don't think having the ability to rewind ammo makes sense on this character. And I get that one's probably a little more, like, controversial or whatever, because, like, being able to rewind ammo is what makes some of these very dumb playstyles possible in the first place. And I'm not gonna lie, yes, it's fun. I won't lie, it's fun to do that. It's silly. It's fun to, like, just chuck all your grenades at a swarm and everything dies, and then rewind and suddenly you have all your grenades again. But I think it encourages a playstyle that is kind of not very healthy for the game. It trivializes a lot of the game. Even if, like, you have cryonades, being able to just refund cryonades is kind of insane. It's just like, it doesn't matter what grenade it is. Just the ability to have your grenades refunded, which, your grenades are your big, quick little bursts of power when a gigantic group of a gigantic group of core spawns show up. Being able to just kind of dance around the fact that grenades are balanced around the fact that you only get so many of them, I think damages this character in the long run. And truth being told, if they wanted to just get rid of grenade refunds and then just make it so that, you just refund ammo in your guns, that'd be fine. But I also feel like it wouldn't, like, just removing the ammo part of the saves, like, of the rewind. Like, what I mean here is, like, removing the ability to rewind ammo, like, on everything when the ability ends. I don't think it would break the character, and I do think it would help decentralize rewind, This is one of the fixes I have, listed, is that you just maybe make it so that you just don't potentially refund ammo, because then at least you are still, like, you can still go crazy if you want. You still have the big safety net on the health and armor level. You can still totally run in, guns blazing, shoot everything. And like especially melee builds. I tried a couple of retcon melee builds yesterday. They're extremely fun. I think that might be my new preferred way to try and build that class. She does really, really well with melee builds, and I kind of am, like, I'm kind of shocked I didn't, like, try this sooner, because, she literally used to have a bio booster deck that was entirely centralized around melee, for the most part, and now you just have the one from, her recklessness deck. It's called Axe Out. It gives you double melee damage when you empty a clip like a magazine. Oh my gosh, it's extremely fun. I tried it out yesterday. I had way more fun yesterday when I intentionally went out of my way to avoid collecting cooldown reduction. I think that's a problem. Like, I think the fact that I can have more fun playing a class not the optimal way is maybe not the best indicator of a class being well designed, in my opinion. Anyway, one more thing I want to talk about before I talk about some of the other fixes I had in mind. I kind of briefly touched on contingency plan being bad, but I didn't really explain why. And I want to explain why in this video. First off, it's a ability that completely automatically activates on its own. So there is no interactivity with it. It's just a passive that takes up a skill slot, which kind of sucks. It means that you only get 2 buttons to push on Retcon instead of, like, 3. And then, like, and that's ignoring the fact that, like, that's just ignoring the fact that it's not even, like the ability itself, right? Like, because, like, I'm just talking about the fact that it's a passive, and that kind of sucks, because it means that your kit is not as fleshed out as it probably could be, right? But then again, like, and then, or not again, but like, then the ability is just not useful. It's a worse Iron Will because you cannot activate it if you're down. Because like, it would be one thing if you could maybe activate contingency plan when you're down, and like you would get like it's basically act like a self revive, right? Maybe like a worse Iron Will, but like at least then you can pop it intentionally, right? That'd be something. But no, the way contingency plan works is that when everyone else and yourself are all down, if the mission was going to fail, you revive at full armor and health. And then good luck, basically. And I mentioned this in the last video where it's like, you know, unless the elevator is literally about to leave and you can get on it comfortably, chances are you're not going to do much with that contingency plan thing. And then obviously there's the whole issue of it's a dead perk if you never, like, if you never get into the situation where your whole team is dead. It prolongs the inevitable in a game like this where like, especially like I went on a run yesterday where like we were just getting owned and like we kept constantly having to skip like expedite upgrades and whatnot because we kept losing time and dying before getting on the elevator, right? And we weren't able to stabilize as a team. Contingency plan kind of furthers that team destabilization issue, because if you ever get to the situation where every single dwarf is down, truth being told, it's extremely hard to come back from that situation. It's like basically impossible. Unless like I said, right, like you can get to the next level, you can get armor and health, or you have some way to keep the core spawn off of you, or you can like pop rewind and then revive someone and then move on, right? It's difficult to make it work. I've tried, trust me, I have popped contingency plan multiple times. I have saved some runs. I just don't think it makes sense as an ability. I think it's a poorly designed one. Yes, it is fitting for the character to have something that's like a, you know, like if everything else fails, one final like save state kind of fixer-upper. Even though that doesn't really make sense because the way recall, or I keep calling it recall, the way rewind works is that you literally pop it somewhere and then you return to a location. I don't know. That doesn't really, whatever. Game design, right? But yeah, contingency plan just sucks. It's just not fun. It doesn't add anything really of substance to her kit. And it also means that it's kind of just a dead slot. I think the reason why it's a dead slot is because the devs realized how broken like rewind was, but they didn't want to actually adjust rewind, so they instead made a perk that is kind of pointless. And to be fair, I get that maybe there's like a couple people out there who like contingency plan. I just don't. I don't think it makes sense for this character. So, what do we do about that, right? Let's talk about what we can change about Retcon to make her more healthy, and I think just make her more interesting as a reclaimer. Because like I said in the last video, she has like the coolest design out of all the reclaimers, at least to me. I really like the time traveler aesthetic. The rage, like she's kind of meant to be like this sort of brutal time traveler. Like it's a weird mix, but it can work, you know. So let's talk about what we could do to fix Retcon real fast. Let's decentralize rewind. Let's make it not refund ammo anymore. And let's also make it so that cooldown reductions do not actually work for this ability, or let's instead make it so like it does something else when you get cooldown reduction for this ability, right? Someone, I don't remember the exact name, I'm sorry, but someone in the Discord had a really good idea where you could make it so that when you get cooldown reduction for rewind, it would like bank it. So like if you were to get 10% like cooldown reduction, it would bank it as like extra time spent in rewind instead for like your next rewind, right? I actually really like that idea because I think it kind of makes more sense. You spend more time in rewind, which is beneficial because it means that there's a longer period of time with your safety net. allows you to potentially like pop multiple rages potentially. Like you could do some cool stuff with that. But it also means that you still have to play around the 70-second timer. You are still balanced around the cooldown. It fixes the issue of Retcon getting infinite spammy like rewinds and like basically ruining the complete run for themselves. So yeah, another like, so I think that would be a good way to fix the rewind thing, or like the cooldown reduction stuff. If not that, then just make it to where cooldown reduction does not apply to rewind, and then make sure that somewhere you tell players that, you know. And then I think that would also do a fine job. But if they're going to keep, like, if they're going to keep contingency plan the exact same as it is right now, and whatever else, then I think here's my proposed changes if contingency plan does not change. Keep the ammo refunding ability on your main weapons and equipment for rewind. Get rid of it for grenades, because I just think it's stupid for grenades. And you know what, honestly, get rid of it for equipment too. I don't think that makes sense either. Just be main weapons. Or honestly, just get rid of it entirely. Either way. Change how the rewind works with the cooldown reduction changes I just said. And then honestly, make it so that, like, make contingency plan just be poppable whenever. It's like a one-time use Iron Will that you can use whenever. And then at least there, like, if things are going really, really badly, you could pop contingency plan early and help stabilize the team faster, you know? Instead of just waiting for everyone to die and then suddenly like, well, great, now everyone's dead. I still would not be a fan of that because it would still keep contingency plan, but it would at least do something, right? My ideal change though, if we're going to change how contingency plan actually works or replace it with something else entirely, then my ideal changes that I would like to see for Retcon is to completely get rid of the ammo. Refunding is completely gone out of a recall. Do the cooldown reduction changes I already mentioned, and then make it so that contingency plan is something else. I'm kind of reading my own notes here, but I listed like a teleport dash might be kind of cool for Retcon potentially, or like some other kind of like Blitz, but like maybe it has like longer range or something. And you know, the thing is like she is a time traveler, right? Retcon is a time traveler. There is so much you could do with the fact that she is a time traveler that isn't just, oh, I guess everyone's dead, let's revive now, you know? Like, does that make sense? I feel like contingency plan is kind of just not a great use of how cool of a character Retcon is, because Retcon's a time traveler, and like they have this cool like rage thing as well. This is probably not a good idea, but like, what if it was replaced with an ability, like by contingency plan? I mean, what if contingency plan was replaced by like this big, powerful like fist punch or something? Because again, feed into the idea that like Retcon's this brawler, right? You know, I don't know. But yeah, those are the kind of fixes I would like to see. I think the biggest thing more than anything is that Retcon just needs a new ability and for rewind to be decentralized. Because I think those two things would help fix her a lot. And then again, yeah, add the cooldown reduction stuff, because then at least you're not actively ruining your own enjoyment of the game by overspecking into cooldown reduction, right? So anyway, I think that's all I mostly had to say. A couple little additions I think would be nice. Rage should get like a first person or even third person animation when you pop it, in my opinion. Maybe like have like Retcon hold their hands out like angrily, like when they pop it, when they scream, because like it looks kind of goofy right now when you pop Rage and then nothing happens. And I think someone else in the Discord also said that like, you know, what if you could have it to like when you pop Rage, you start just punching the The core spawn, like that'd be one of your options when you go to use your pickaxe. Instead, it's replaced by like fists, and it does more damage and it's faster than your pickaxe. And you just start beating the ever living snot out of the core spawn. That would be so much fun. I would absolutely enjoy that. It would fit the brawling playstyle, or like the brawling thing that they're going for with this character. It would be a cool way to make Rage more interesting, you know? And still keep the double damage, still keep everything else, just buff Rage to also give you like these faster punches and like just start ripping and tearing Doom style, you know? I don't know, I think that'd be really cool. Oh gosh, is there anything else I can really think of that'd be nice to have on this class? I don't know, not really. I think that was kind of the main thing I wanted to suggest there. Also, kind of unrelated, but please fix all the weird like audio bugs that Retcon still has. She's got a lot of them. They're very annoying, like to my ears, because then like sometimes like the game will get confused about whether you're gonna rewind or not, so the music will still sound good, like pitch shifted, or the all the audio will still come in kind of echoey. It's and it doesn't like go away when you go back to like the lobby or anything. So yeah, anyway, this has been the follow-up video I wanted to make. Next video will definitely be something different, but I definitely wanted to just make this so that I could get more of my actual thoughts about this Reclaimer out there, because I really like Retcon. I really want Retcon to be fun, because I think time travelers in video games are cool. And you know what? Frick it, man. If anything else fails, you know what? Let's replace contingency plan with, like, portals. Yep, that's right. This game's deadlock and portal now. Retcon is now doorman. All right, awesome.